Good morning, everybody. I'm Barb Holzhauer, one of your trustees, and I am delighted to be here this morning. I really kind of need to thank Mark Steinberg because he is the one that was originally assigned for this Sunday, and I was able to switch, not realizing that it was going to be such a momentous Sunday for us. So I think that's really cool. Now I have all my notes here. And I'll get on the right page in just a minute. Here at UUCW, we offer gratitude for the privilege of living and gathering on traditional territory inhabited at various times by the native peoples of the Seven Council Fires, Ho-Chunk, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Menominee, Peoria, and Miami nations. So much of the history of this land has been erased or ignored. Those of us who are settlers and newcomers are beholding to learn that history and engage in the work of reconciliation and reparation. Okay. As a welcoming congregation to gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, Clear Plus peoples, we continue to address the ongoing homophobia, violence, and unfair legislation targeting them. As an anti-racist faith community, we also acknowledge that racism throughout our society continues to lead to the violent deaths and oppression of Jews, blacks, indigenous peoples, and other peoples of color. May we engage in the struggle to dismantle white supremacy in our hearts, in our community, and in our world. Even though we have a lot of people here today, which is fantastic, we also expand beyond these walls. We have online people joining us virtually. So wherever you are right now, whatever your age, your color, your gender identity, your chosen beliefs, whoever you love, you are welcome here. Okay, so you all received this, I would assume, and even though my notes say the yellow notes, we've switched to blue, so if you are a newcomer and want to connect with us, please fill this out and leave it with someone afterwards. Or if you have a joy or concern that you wanted to submit, you can do that. Just wanted to highlight a couple of the many activities and announcements that we have. As you know, Jill is new to us, and if you have some ideas or recommendations or must-do things that you'd like to share with her, there's a board in the community room where you can write down your ideas. Way at the end of this month, now September, on the 28th and 29th, you'll have an opportunity to participate in a group to help plan our activities going forward and to weave together the different values that we have and the ways that we show those values. And then one last thing for you to begin thinking about and definitely put on your calendar. On Saturday, November 9th, we have our upcoming auction. And you may have a skill that you could auction off. You may have some other, gem that you haven't been using that you want to auction off. I've already put in one thing as something from myself. I was fortunate enough to receive a 4-session personal training 4 sessions of personal training from my son and son-in-law last Christmas. I could not believe what a wonderful opportunity that was and how it wasn't easy, but it wasn't overwhelming either. So I bought a 4-pack and donated it, so now you can have the opportunity to do that. Let's see. Oh, so I already mentioned that if you're a newcomer, please fill out the now blue slips. We also have a newcomer table in the community room. If you prefer to have something to do with your hands during the service so you can pay attention to what's being shared, we have a worship exploration table that you can participate in. There is no official RE today, but there will be UU Play, and the time to leave for that will be after the Joys and Concerns rather than a little bit earlier, which it often is. Let's see. I think I haven't missed too many things, so we're probably ready to go on. So it's up to you now.
Good morning. My heart is so full of joy to be joining you here in your sanctuary. Here at the very beginning of our journey together, I am so looking forward to journeying with you in these early weeks, months, and this year, this first year of our shared ministry together. Thank you so much for all your support, all the warm welcomes, all those suggestions. I'm using them immediately sometimes after you put those there. Enjoying Thai food, which is great. That's one of my favorites. I'll take more Thai food recommendations. So let us begin today's worship service together. As we arrive here this morning for this sacred time together, let us settle in and center ourselves in love, to ground ourselves in love. And to help us do that, I offer words from Sherry Woodbury, our minister in Omaha, Nebraska. We arrive this morning to reground ourselves here in our highest values. Love is the foundation of this faith. Love is the power that holds us together as a community. As we enter into worship then, let us open our hearts to the liberating power of love. Because love is not only something we receive, but something we practice in community. Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love. As we continue to listen and learn together, to act and grow together, may each of us unfold in wholeness, both deeply loving and truly loved. Like Unitarian Universalists everywhere, when we gather, we light a chalice. Please join me in reading our chalice lighting words from Margaret A. Keep, which are printed in your order of service. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, to reconnect, to know ourselves to be at home, here on earth, under the stars, linked with each other. And now please rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing hymn number 32, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire.
Or 34.
Oops, 34, thank you.
Speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I Spirit come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
Good morning. I'd like to invite anybody wanting to come a little closer to see the pictures better to do so. You're welcome to do that. And I will let you know that I am Dave Cicero, Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UU Church West, and my pronouns are he and him. So today I'll be reading excerpts from a book that invites you to ponder the intimate connection that each one of us has to the natural world, while it weaves some science into the narrative, reminding about how everything from microorganisms to tiny plankton to clouds, that these all work together to maintain life and the environment. But it doesn't forget about the emotional needs and the emotional life of humans and how personal relationships with non-humans can soothe lonely times, or how sunshine can fill you with hope. You Are Never Alone by Ellen Kelsey, published by Owl Kids Books. Illustrated by Soyeon Kim. Every moment, this beautiful planet showers you with gifts. Clouds rain fresh water to quench your thirst. Your lungs swell with oxygen that plants create. Earthworms, ground beetles, and ants plow the soil where your vegetables grow. Nature touches every bite you eat. You gobble fruits from plants pollinated by bats in the twilight and bees in the day. You devour fish who ate tiny plankton fertilized by poop from whales in the sea. When danger lurks, help comes in wild ways. Mangrove roots hold tight to slippery mudslides. Poplar trees drink up floods. Forests of undersea kelp calm ferocious waves. You're protected by a generous world of green. Branches stretch across streets, creating peaceful neighborhoods. Mother trees entwine their roots, raising vast, shady forests that keep you and the planet cool. You always have company. Armies of microorganisms snuggle against your skin, keeping germs at bay. Your face is a home to wee little cleaning mites who evolved from mites that lived on the faces of your relatives long ago. Healing can happen too. Aloe vera soothes your itchy skin. Ginger settles your upset tummy. Wallowing in the mud makes you smarter, thanks to a surge of feel-good chemicals triggered by bacteria in the soil. You thrive through connections to the land and the sea. Whales rise and dive, splashing phytoplankton to the surface where sun powers their growth. Krill gobble these ocean plants and become food for salmon. Bears drag spawned salmon onto shore, spreading fishy nutrients that help massive trees grow. Forests maintain the Earth's climate. You turn to pets for support, just as they count on you. You sense all these wild connections. Sunshine fills you with hope. Your imagination smiles when you climb a tree. You are never alone. Feel gravity hug you tight as you twirl around the sun. Now, at the end of this book, the author notes that scientists have found that getting your hands among the bacteria, like I read, in the soil, and looking a loved pet in the eye makes each of us happier and smarter. But we probably don't need to read the studies to understand that. We simply need to experience it for ourselves. So I invite you this week, find a new way to accept any invitation to connect with something or someone from the natural world.
Our first reading this morning is a poem by Mary Oliver that might be familiar to some of you. It is entitled Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
We enter now a time for sharing of joys and sorrows and gratitudes that touch our individual lives. And this is one way that we express through ritual the many ways that we care for one another in this community. In a moment, you'll be invited to come to the mic to share aloud. If you have something you'd rather not share aloud, you can use the QR code on the order of service or the share side of the blue slip to put something in writing. And raise your hand if you need something to write with, and an usher will help. And also, at any time during the week, you can use the link in the e-news, the Joys and Concerns link in the e-news, to let us know what's on your heart. Remember that what you share is only for the ears of those gathered here now. It will not be in the posted video of this service or shared in our e-news. So now, I invite you to come to the mic to speak if you choose to, or raise your hand and an usher will bring you a mic. I will light a candle for you, and I invite you all to respond with me. We hold you in love. You can form a line to the side. Come. Online folks, we hold you in love as well. And now we place one last candle for those joys and concerns not shared but held deep inside our hearts. We hold you in love. Now let's pause and breathe together and hold all that's been shared in our hearts. And will you join me now in a spirit of prayer or meditation? Spirit of life and love, we give thanks for the gift of this faith community and all who call it their spiritual home. We send love and light to all who are ill, struggling with depression, anxiety, or addiction, or suffering under the weight of oppression. May we know ourselves to be interconnected with one another and with all that is, and may we know ourselves held by the love of this community. Now please remain seated and we'll sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life, 2 times through.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Rules hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our second reading today is a poem entitled Everything is Waiting for You by David White. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice? You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you.
On my morning dog walk around my neighborhood, there is a spot where I come upon something that stops me in my tracks. It's the spot where I come around a corner and see a fence with delicate vines creeping along and upward. I vary our walking route, so it doesn't happen every single day, but when it does, the deep, vibrant purple of the flowers on this vine gives me this burst of awe. I actually startle a little bit, and take a little gasp at this incredible beauty that nature makes and continues to make year after year. And then my thinking brain says inside the name of the plant, which I'm sure you know, morning glory, right? And that thought hits my heart, that feeling and that thought hit my heart like an invitation that calls me to say, yes, this is the morning, which I did not make and yet am somehow miraculously a part of. And yes, this morning is glorious in its own particular way, with the light and the clouds just so, the start of a new day and a new chance to begin again. And yes, this morning holds these glories and is inviting me into them. Our Soul Matters theme for September is the practice of invitation. We typically think about invitation from the inviter side, right? We think about having a home that is inviting, if that's a priority for us. And in faith communities, we think about how we invite newcomers to check out our community, the ways we invite one another to participate in community. But this morning, my hope is for us to consider together the practice of accepting invitation. And in particular, accepting the invitation that the world offers us. Accepting invitation is often how we move into belonging. And belongingness is, I think, a fundamental human need, to belong in some way to something larger than ourselves. And fundamentally, as human beings, we belong to ourselves. And this, for me, is a matter of principle and politics. All people should be sovereign over themselves, have sovereignty over their bodies, spirits, and minds. Much of what we fight for in our justice work is exactly that, the right of all people, no exceptions, to live with autonomy in their lives. But perhaps even before our self-belonging, we belong to the universe. Millennia of evolution have brought about the biology that made our birth possible. And the earth welcomes us by offering its bounty, providing all we need to live and grow. The generous world of green, the forests that cool the planet, as we heard about in our story, and the gravity that hugs us tight as we twirl around the sun. The poets have much to say about the ways the world invites us into itself, into a kind of belongingness, as we heard in our readings. David White asks us to notice how the soap dish enables us, how the window latch grants us freedom, inviting us to open it. He urges us to feel the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus. Now I imagine we all know what it feels like to not be invited, yes? It might be not getting a job, being rejected from a potential relationship, feeling excluded at a social event. Invitation and belonging can be bumpy when we're starting at a new school or joining a new family. Our belongingness in the various circles of our lives shifts and changes over time. But this kind of belongingness we're considering this morning lives, I think, underneath these various circles. This belonging to the earth, the world, the universe is timeless. And we can access it any time we choose to. I'm talking about our awareness of ourselves as belonging to the interdependent web, as our seventh principle calls it. This kind of belonging is very easy to forget about, to lose sight of, to not notice the many invitations to it as we go about the business of our lives. But I think it's fundamental to who we are as interdependent beings, committed to that principle as part of this community. Mary Oliver's Wild Geese, as we heard, evokes this invitation to belonging to the interdependent web. At the poem's beginning, Oliver invites us to set down our striving, our regrets. In that famous line, let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. She's saying, be just what you are. And then she expands that invitation to a relationship of sharing. Tell me your despair. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. And then next, she moves to the larger world. Meanwhile, the world goes on. And she scans our big, beautiful earth and reminds us of the big patterns, the big movements happening continuously all over it. The sun and clear pebbles of rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. She's telling us, oh yes, we have our concerns, our desires, our despair, but you must look up and look around. So much is happening in the meanwhile of this world. And then she turns to the geese. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clear blue air are heading home again. She calls the sweetness of home into our minds. And then come the final lines. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. We feel the geese calling us, inviting us in this lovely picture that Oliver paints. And we value the geese as good simply because they exist, right? We don't evaluate their accomplishments, their charms. The poem invites us to see ourselves through this same lens as creatures, each of us with a place on earth and absolutely worthy of love and belonging just as we are. The world is inviting us into this belonging. I have found that cultivating awareness of the world's invitation can be a comfort during times of loneliness, times when we experience ourselves as cut off from belonging and we feel lonely and alienated. This feeling of invitation and belongingness comes to me in times of joy and sorrow. For some reason, the joy of it tends to hit me often when I'm driving a car. A sense of I am in this world, I am of this world, and I am lucky to be here and moving through this world. And I recall the first pandemic winter of 2020. I was working only from home, missing the office and the flow of events and social things that had previously been the shape of my life. For so many of us, the invitations ceased during those early pandemic years. And I am blessed with wonderful close relationships and spiritual practices that carried me through that tough time. And I developed a practice of intentionally drawing comfort, cultivating this sense of a larger belonging. I got a dog, so I was walking around my neighborhood more. I was more engaged in close and patient observation of what was around me. When we heed the world's invitation to belonging, we become more firmly anchored in ourselves, I think, while simultaneously our barriers to belonging soften. It worked this way for me in my mid-30s when I began a period of intentional spiritual growth. I had joined a UU church and I started going to Al-Anon meetings, and I loved playing around with the idea of a higher power and what that could mean, the earth, the universe, the air, saying yes to the invitation to belong to something larger than myself. And it wasn't long after that that I went all in on UU church life. Cultivating awareness of this kind of belonging to the world also has implications for our politics. When we know ourselves to belong to the earth, not it to us, this directly contradicts the default viewpoint that each of us is fundamentally a solo entity, here to gather and consume as much as we can. It is a practice of radical resistance to refuse to see ourselves in the individualistic way that serves capital so well. It is a practice of ecological solidarity to experience ourselves as beings that belong to the earth. These words, inspired by Chief Seattle's words, say it so well. Quote, "This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. All things are connected like the blood that unites us all. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely strands in it." Close quote. In our Unitarian Universalist faith communities, invitation and belonging have a special meaning. Invitation to this faith does not mean invitation to assent to a creed, to become exactly like others in the community. No, when we say yes to the invitation to become part of a UU faith community, just like in the big natural world, the big wide world, we are saying yes to a kind of belonging that values diversity, invites diversity, invites us in with our quirks, our idiosyncrasies, our intuitions, our cultural context, and our hopes. It invites us in just as we are, just as those geese call to us, announcing that each of us has our place in the family of things. How might we cultivate this awareness of the world's invitation and keep it with us in our hearts, minds, and souls. There's many ways to do that as people in this world. Our story today had several ideas. Wallowing in the mud sounds like a fun one. A practice of mine that helps with this is spending time with art and literature. This includes things like poetry, like that of Mary Oliver, which so exquisitely connects life on the ground, literally life on the ground in so much of her work, right, to the larger life of the interdependent web. Film and novels invite me into experiences and realities far beyond my own and help me expand my sense of history and humanity and feel a greater connection to all that is and has been. And breathing meditation does this for me too. Breathing in peace, breathing out love. When my mind is quiet, I am better able to receive and accept the invitation of the world. I invite us all to pay attention to the world's invitations. Oftentimes it can help to unplug and go outside, to feel ourselves alive and connected with the earth through all the senses that we have access to. And this doesn't require a trip somewhere. We can find a patch of grass and put our bare feet on it, if that's possible. We can look up at the sky and take in its vastness. What kind of knowing might the ground underneath and the sky above you be offering to you? What invitation into the rhythm of life might you experience if you pause and listen for a time? I'd love to hear from you about how you experience the world's invitation or what gets in the way of it, what helps you to find your place in the family of things. Or maybe you have a different take entirely on this whole question. I'd love to hear about that too. The window latch, the morning glories, the question asked, all of these invite us. The dance steps remembered, the thought barely formed, the beauty glimpsed. All of these are the world inviting us. How do you want to RSVP? And in the meantime, let us savor these days of Earth's late summer. And let us know ourselves, each one of us, as a beloved member of the family of things, just as we are. May it be so.
Everyone's always nervous. Is the mic on? Good morning. I'm Kathy Lake, and I represent Split the Plate. UUCW's Split the Plate program is one of outreach and generosity. Each month, we give half of all our undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization to help us live our Unitarian Universalist values, pursue the goal of social justice, and serve our community. Our Split the Plate partner for September is Wisconsin Conservation Voters, suggested by Karen Zimmerman. This nonprofit group advocates for sound environmental laws and policies, holds elected officials accountable for their votes and actions, and supports pro-conservation candidates who will champion priority issues of clean water, air, and energy. They have a fabulous website, and we invite you to go to the Wisconsin Conservation Voters website to learn more. And next Sunday, a representative will be with us. You can support Wisconsin Conservation Voters with your contribution. Go to UUCW's website Donate tab and select Split the Plate, or text your donation 73256, or you can mail a donation here to the church. We thank you for your generosity and support for Wisconsin Conservation Voters and for UUCW. We'll now collect the offering.
And now I invite you to join in the words for dedicating our offering, which are printed in your order of service. To the work of this community, which is to ground ourselves in love and joy, and to act for inclusion and justice, we dedicate ourselves and these offerings. And now please rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle.
Break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
In the shared quiet, an invitation arises like a white dove lifting from a limb and taking flight. Come and live in truth. Take your place in the flow of grace. Draw aside the veil you thought would separate you, your heart, from love. All you ever longed for is before you in this moment. If you dare draw in a breath and whisper, yes. Blessed be.